The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users on demand on iTunes and on YouTube and on my site, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you are encouraged to post your comments, whether you agree with yours truly or not. And thanks to our good friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio, we're syndicated across the United States into 12 million additional households. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten. Our guest, Todd Bowers, is MIA. Fortunately, not in Fallujah. He's just MIA when it comes to us being able to reach him on the telephone. But I'm going to talk about this anyways because, and we're going to continue to try to get a hold of him because this is a very important issue. You know, much was said during the presidential campaign by both candidates about what they felt were deficiencies in the Veterans Administration, failings of the United States government to properly take care of our returning veterans, those who had medical conditions, those who have emotional problems as a result of being in a combat zone, those who have difficulty getting into a job. Well, now the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America are trying to hold President-elect Obama's feet to the fire, as I'm sure they would have President-elect McCain had he won the election, to ensure that they do what they promised that they would do, or he does what he promised he would do, and that is improve the situation for the returning veterans. Now, let me just say this. I know that some of us favor the war in Iraq and the war in Afghanistan, and some of us oppose the war in Iraq and the war in Afghanistan. But the great thing about the United States, despite how fractured this country has been as a result of the past 8 years, and especially as a result of the war in Iraq, we are united, I believe, as a nation in the belief that our veterans, who we ask to put their lives in harm's way to protect us, deserve our support. Not just our individual support, not just the support of groups of civilians that assist them, but also the support of the United States government. So let me talk about 3 things that the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America say need to be done to improve the plight of our returning veterans. 1, they believe that the VA, the Veterans Administration budget, must be approved significantly early, a year in advance is their recommendation, to ensure that VA hospitals and clinics aren't forced to ration care at the beginning of each fiscal year. How horrific is that? They want to ensure that the benefits of the new GI Bill, which is better than the old GI Bill, can be enjoyed by people who are under the old GI Bill, who got in under that program before the new bill was passed. And one that I wholeheartedly agree with the IAVA on, and that is that veterans who are suffering from depression and post-traumatic stress disorder be given adequate access to mental health professionals. And, you know, there are all kinds of problems with that. The guy is back home in rural Arkansas or rural Montana, and he doesn't have immediate access to a VA center. And even those who do have access to the VA centers, they are only allowed a finite number of treatments before they're cut loose. Clearly not enough. If Todd Bowers gets back with us, we'll definitely bring him on the show. But you guys get the point. And because you do, we're going to go right to your calls to talk about this issue, which those of you who are regular listeners to this show know is one that's very important to me. I've been really raising this issue repeatedly on News Talk Online on Paltalk.com, and I'm happy to see that people from both sides of the aisle and those who are nonpartisan in general agree with me on this issue. Rachel in Louisiana. Rachel, welcome to News Talk Online on Paltalk.com.
Okay, thank you, Gary, and thank you for having this show. I want to say first and foremost, a very big and heartfelt thank you for anyone, all the men and women that served our country so that we can have our freedom, which we just got to enjoy with the electoral process by being able to vote for who we chose to vote for. Gary, one thing that concerns me about this administration and this budget is if they will continue to fund it a year before the troops come home. I don't think that that's too soon. I don't think you can be early enough. And, you know, as far as the post-traumatic stress disorder, all the things that go along with it, I think what concerns me is after having been in the VA hospitals and seeing some of the patients that needed to stay a longer time than they were allowed, having to leave and go home, still some of them with infections, and to take the antibiotics by mouth when they needed IV drips, but because their allowed time had ran out, they were not able to do that. So yeah, they definitely need to take into account that you can't put it on a scale of so many days. Sometimes it takes more, sometimes it takes less. I hope I'm making myself understood in what I'm trying to say. Okay.